It's really interesting to me because having known you over the years, I cannot tell you the impact that I have seen when people come to me and have read your things. Like, I have a whole squad in the Netherlands who love you.
In the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. One of the things that I find really interesting is to look at things through the lens of strategy. Like, everybody calls you the patron saint of everything, yes? Like,
Oh, wow.
and I want to ask you about your meditation practice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I see you, and strategically, like, what's the verb that you've done that's gotten you from toilet paper entrepreneur to where you are now?
Yeah, so Toilet Paper Entrepreneur was a resounding success for me in regards to, it was a sophomoric diatribe about entrepreneurship, but at the same time, it was truly authentic of who I was in that moment and how I think I could be of service. And this small but empowered community formed. I think what I do, and I believe so much in, is the underdog entrepreneur. I think the biggest thing has been just hitting the same drum. I'm the small business guy. That's who I want to serve. I haven't expanded beyond that, and maybe one day I will expand out to the needs they have outside of business, but it's always that small business, and I say guy, that's New Jersey talk, person, man, woman, or neutral, but whatever you choose to identify as, as long as you're a small business, I want to empower you. The last thing is I want to share is I've always led with books. That's when shift happens. I said shift happens, not shift happens, but that's when it happens too. So there you go.
So talk to us about All In. I'm really excited. I have really specific questions, but tell me things.
I listen, hopefully acutely, to reader feedback, what readers are experiencing and what they need next. And I try to do that next. What was interesting was I've been here for quite a while. I'm struggling recruiting and retaining. A lot of it was attributed to a new generation, which every generation says about the new generation. And how do I navigate it, and how do I need to be different, and all that. But then COVID exacerbated it with the new work format of many businesses now working virtually. It was the norm for some folks, perhaps you, but not for most of us. And there's this rapid learning. So this dynamic of new expectations from employees, a new work environment, a demand for increased productivity and efficiency, introductions of artificial intelligence. There's such major things happening. How do you recruit people in this environment? How do you retain them? How do you elevate the bar? And it's a culmination of many years of research, kind of this historical stuff that works, the evergreen type of stuff, but then a translation into our modern environment that we're working in today. And that's what All In is about. It's elevating the leader to create a work environment in our current society that excels.
What will be your legacy? Let's do that.
I want to really be of service. I think what it is actually, I don't know if I can show you my camera here, if I can turn it. I think I got it. Right there it is. He says eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
It does.
That is what I believe my life purpose to be, God-given or spiritually or divinely given, universally given, or maybe self-given. I can't deem the source, but I think it's divine. And what that means is there is a faction of our planet, it's about 350 million entrepreneurs who are living in a state of check-to-check survival. It's everything from the single business proprietor who owns a hot dog stand or is in lawn care or palliative care, it doesn't matter, but these micro enterprises, to big small business, a business that's maybe generating millions in revenue, but still is under this constant duress and stress. Now, I define financial poverty, or I define poverty not just financially. Right. There's soulful poverty, where some people have come to resent their business. I've been there too. There is contribution poverty. It feels like we're not having an impact. There's time poverty, which is one of the most biggest things that I'm trying to combat. There's this constant noise of like, you got to work 25 hours a day, and how badly do you want it, and what's your X factor, and don't be a cis. It's like, that's all nonsense to me. We got one life to live. It's about being of great service, including to yourself. It's not about being selfish. So it's about addressing all that. And that's my mission. That's why I'm writing all these books. I guess the worldwide exposure I'd like is that every entrepreneur that can be served by my books have an opportunity to experience them and make a choice if it serves them or not. That would be amazing to me. So I do have some businesses now and services behind it. But what I found is the most accessible tool, the most impactful tool, I think, are books. It's the author's download and research. For me, it takes me about 5 years of research, writing, codifying, and then preparing to make a book. So I think one thing that's served my community and subsequently has served me is just be the author guy first and foremost. Never do things that compromise that. I think that's what served me. And then, Profit First has been my biggest notable work. It's not my favorite work that I've done, but it has been the most impactful, and I'm proud of that and blown away by the readers that have been served by it globally. And every time I'm like, how do I make entrepreneurship more accessible, simplify the journey? It's not going to be easier, but at least it can be simpler, fewer steps. That's what I got to do.
You're a man of his word, right? And you do good things, and it just really is profound to me. I think that I don't know if that can be a strategy, being kind and being good and being nice, but I just want to acknowledge yeah, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm flattered you see that or feel that. That is my intention. I ain't perfect at it. I yesterday morning or was it today? I'm again, like, time's warping a little bit. It was yesterday. I was at the studio to record All In, the audiobook. So what happens is after you finish the manuscript, you do the audio read. And there's one section I talk about a social worker. Her name's Helen Fuller. And I got emotional. I started crying. I couldn't actually stop it. It's just what's amazing about business in the traditional sense. I think what many entrepreneurs default to is we look at the industry rags and say, oh, that's the big name of the day. They're the hero. But there's this whole community of leaders. In this case, I found Helen Fuller, who is a social worker, who changed the life of one person. And that one person has had now a cascade effect on more people. And you can just see it kind of billowing out. And I'm reading, I'm crying. And in the end, it's like the producer, I get through the whole thing, and the producer says, okay, do you want to do it again so we can do a retake? The emotion's probably out of you now. And exactly, I said no. He's like, well, authors, business authors don't typically cry when they're reading a book. And I'm like, I know, I get it, but it's raw and real. I said, as long as I'm enunciating and you can understand what I'm saying, I want people to hear the emotion and make a judgment. I surely know I'm not for everybody, but I also know that if I'm really lean into my truth, myself, that the right person's gonna say, oh, that's the dude. He gets it and I get him. And the ultimate compliment, Lindsay, that I hear occasionally is when I first meet someone that I've never met before. So I was in, this was in the UK. I spoke at an event. I was the only American. Presenters, all British folks. They even did this intro. They go, they did a video play. They go, we've got a token American here, and he's awesome. They leaned into all the American stuff. They had an eagle screech by, and they had a cowboy with a lasso. After that event, I had an opportunity to meet with quite a few people, and some of them were familiar with my work, and they said, gosh, you're the same guy that I read in the books. You're the same guy I heard or on the podcast or maybe in this interview. I think that's the ultimate compliment, because I have that same suspicion. Who is this person really behind the scenes? Who, are they putting a show on here to sell another book or push another product? Or is this like real, true person? And to me, that's the ultimate compliment, when someone feels the package is the package, and that lights me up.
Totally. So, talk to me for a moment about, I'm fascinated, and some of the things that we're looking at are how people sabotage themselves and what strengths they also bring to their entrepreneurial journey. So, understanding, like if someone, yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So right away, I think of sabotage, how often I see it, and I see it myself, is comparison is a dangerous thing. And saying, oh, they have done this or they've achieved that, or they spread the word out. It can be inspirational. And I think that's okay. Like, oh, look at what so-and-so did. Maybe that's a pathway. But for me, at times it becomes diminishing. And it becomes this compulsion to degrade someone else that could be an aspiration point. So it does nothing to them. This is all in our mind, but it defeats us. It's demotivating. So one form of sabotage is comparison. And what it does also is it causes a copying effect. Just taking an idea and plugging it in, you start becoming this jigsaw puzzle with pieces from different puzzles, and it looks bizarre. So I think the opportunity is double down on who you are. Are you that, were you the weirdo band geek in high school that hung out under the bleachers that kids made fun of? That's awesome. Let's double down on that and express that. And I would dare say that's your biggest opportunity. Because when and I was considered the weirdo, when you're considered the weirdo or the oddball, that means you're expressing yourself that's incongruent with the commodity or the standard. Therefore, you have an opportunity for differentiation.
I love it. I love it. I couldn't agree more. Talk to me for a moment about meditation. Talk to me for a moment about, because that's new since I've talked to you.
Yeah. So I always was curious about meditation, and I went through formal training, and I'm not actually even suggesting this. I went through transcendental meditation, TM. It's for me. I did the introductory program. It's great. I love it. I actually use the practice. It's mantra based. Repeat a mantra. What's interesting is it's brought around like a softness in times of conflict, in times of difficulty. So we all go through this. I lost my father this year, and that was, thank you. It was very difficult in a way I didn't expect it. I thought I'd be strong through, but meditation's been very powerful and cathartic. Business challenges, we're not always crushing it here. I had to get different was not a big business success as a book, and it kind of threw us for a skew. We had to do some things with our business here that were tough decisions, but the right decision, and meditated. It's an interesting, what it does is it's given me this sense of release, but also this, I don't even know how to explain it, a sense of insignificance and significance at the same time. One of the practices is like, oh, I'm nothing. Like I'm not even that drop in that amazing ocean behind you. In the big pictures of things, perhaps none of us are. Right. But therefore, the fact that I even have that opportunity to realize that or appreciate that I'm really nothing, that is significant, and that there's an opportunity to express and explore everything, because this is the one shot in a very insignificant experience that's very significant. I don't even know if it makes sense, but it's this kind of yin and yang.
Completely makes sense.
Alpha and omega,
Totally. So what's the book after this about?
It looks like I'm going to do a book in personal finance. And here's why. There is a parallel between your personal finances and your business finances. There's a link, is probably a better choice of words. And therefore, you can have a great business, but poor personal finances, both are in trouble. You can't be compromised on one. I've heard enough times, and coincidentally, is when I was in the Netherlands and subsequently the UK, the majority of questions that came to me were, hey, can I apply profit first to personal finance? I was like, okay, this is enough hearing it, now I gotta take action on it. And the answer is yes, but I'm gonna deep dive into that process. And by the way, it's not one of those get rich books, like here's how you make millions. There's amazing books out there on that subject, and I think it's very important. This is how you get cash confidence. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing.
Say more about cash confidence. What will they get?
I think what happens is most people are desperate to make a lot of money to get out of desperation, but they're living this constant turmoil. I don't want to open my bills because I don't know if I can afford them. The credit cards are maxed, and in those types of situations. How do you bring around confidence so you understand the basics of how your personal finances are working and move persistently and consistently to the outcome you want? It's really taking control over our cash as opposed to our cash controlling us.
And we can cut this even if you want to, but I just want to acknowledge that, like, I was at an event where you talked about being wiped out in a room with friends of ours, and the amount of respect that they had for you for saying that was so profound.
Yeah, no, don't like that. It's unbelievable. The thing we don't want to show, the warts and all, are actually what humanize us. And when we tell stories about ourselves like that, it allows them, the others, to feel consuming that, to say, oh, I have a story too. And that's the profound moment. It's not someone sharing it in a book or saying something on a stage. It's when the person says, oh, that's my story. That's the moment. And they can explore that. That's when shift happens. Big
My
turd.
husband and I were talking.
I end our interview on a big turd. You're welcome, Lindsay.